So, hello, I am back. Um, it is snowing outside. I'm back-ish. I have the day off of work. That is kind of what it is. Looks like it's snowing inside because I don't get to use this desk ever, and that is what it is. Um, with that said, what are we here to talk about today? First off, you're going to notice there's a new name, same face. Sorry, can't do much about that, but new name, Lost Coin. Um, Brief summary of that is from my favorite passage in the Bible, Luke 15. That focuses a lot on the redemptive powers, and I feel very much redeemed in my new life changing circumstances. Um, Room's still a mess. Room's going to be a mess. This is kind of my spare room. It's going to be under construction for a while, and that is, again, what it is. Now let's get to the part that everybody wants to talk about real quick. So Smite 2, what do we expect? What do we want to expect? What is it? It's about time for part of it. I mean, Unreal 3, sure, it's been around for longer than I've had a PC, longer than I've been playing Smite even. Because Smite came out, what, 2012? I probably started playing 2013, 2014, and Unreal's been since '06. So, sadly to say, that is a majority of my life that has been out. That's kind of insane. Unreal 5 just came out, what, last year? Let them work out some of the bugs. And then we're going to get a new game on it. I had a list over here, some of the gods that are going to be um, included in there. Let me pull that up real briefly because a friend of mine sent it to me, and I think it's worth talking about. Broad strokes, first off, what do we think that we want from the game? Biggest thing I will say is that I really hope that there's less CC immunity. Like, that's one thing. I saw that everybody had. There we are. I found the list. So, I saw that everybody has beads now. I think that's part of the problems of current Smite is like you can get stun locked. People that don't have a lot of mobility, like Ymir, apparently they're going to try to move away from that, I think, because Ymir can rocket jump with his wall. It gives a little bit of a knockup. That's encouraging. That's very exciting. I like that. But at the same time, um, I don't know what they're gonna do for gods like Ra, gods that are just more stationary. And honestly, I like those gods a lot more. I like gods where you get punished if you're in the bad spot and you just got to figure it out. You're going to be able to do a lot of damage, but you're going to be able to take a lot of damage too. I like that. And I really hope that they don't go to gods like Thoth. I mean, I have Thoth on here as a bit of a rant at one point in time because I just think that there's so much safety and it takes away from the fun of the god because there's no real risk. Like, I don't have to think about where I'm going to be. I just kind of fire off and what? The best case is if they have a Fenrir, then I need to think a little bit. Um, but ability's always up, high amount of damage, high amount of safety. It's just, I don't really like that. Um, I like gods like Vulcan a lot. I like gods that have some movement to them. Vulcan does move around a lot at this point in time, but wasn't always that way. Um, I would like to see more risk. I really, really, really don't want to see anything that looks like Charybdis 3 or Yu Huang 3 or Soul 3 or all these moves that are CC immune and damage immune at the same time. And it's just obnoxious, really. Like, what what is the fun in that, especially because it power creeps to the point that gods that don't have things like that are put at a disadvantage. I mean, Chernobog, good because of his ult right now, absolutely. But the fact that he can sit in a wall for a period of time and wait for his team to come to him is, to some point, pretty valuable. Um, Again, if Charybdis ult wasn't non existent, that guy would probably be pretty good just naturally because the rest of her kit is fairly solid. Um, Yeah, I hope that this means less CC immunity, especially in the context of the first three abilities that they have. Less CC immunity in ults as well would be nice. I don't know that it necessarily needs to happen. I mean, some gods get a bit excessive with it, sure, but um, yeah, I think the first step is that they put a lot less CC immunity just naturally into kits that they don't in others, because then that's going to let some characters be up here, some characters be down here, and it's a real balancing issue because you can't add CC immunity later on. You imagine if they just, I mean, I guess they have done that in some cases, but it's usually been specific CC immunities. The example I was going to use was Vulcan Backfire if they just made that fully CC immune. They didn't. They added an immunity to cripples, which is pretty good though. Um, yeah, that's the big thing that I really hope they address. Other than that, I mean, game looks good. I think they're going to be trying a lot of different things this year. Going into Smite 1 year 11 is just going to be throwing things at a wall. And that's going to make it a bit of a roller coaster, probably for the best. There's not really an official SPL thing going on for it. Um, but they're going to figure out a lot of the more extreme stuff like this teleport thing. I don't know. Could be good, could be bad, is what it is. To be decided on things like that. I really don't know. I know it's probably going to be from solo to duo way more often than duo to solo, just because, unless it's the support rotating. But solos like to get around, man, and especially if they're putting persistent teleport in this game too. I like that move actually. That's a big thing. Is the relics, the changes that they've made to consolidate some of the ones that that they didn't have a lot of use for, or they were competing with one another. I'm really excited to see that. Like having Sprint Frenzy, that's a good combination because those are both go time relics. I get they brought together, what was it? Curse and Horrific. And again, those are both shutdown relics. I like that those are back in that sense. I'm excited to see how the level up system works out for that, because I think putting money into these things, again, we'll have to see, because that actually changes where relic spooling for supports especially goes, because they might buy them, but they might also just do them the natural way. And if that's the case, they could end up with a lot of gold, because we've so many different mechanics in the game that are to help support specifically. I mean, their starters give them gold per 5. If you're the lowest person on the team, you get more XP. Like, there's so many catch up mechanics around support that I'm really interested to see where that goes, especially because if they can just get their relic upgrades without paying for them, then they potentially save 1,600 gold, assuming it's the same economy too. I don't know that it's going to be 1,600 gold there, 800 per relic, obviously, but we'll see. Um, if supports get very strong off of this, that could be, I mean, could be good. I personally had fun in invade metas and things like that where support was just stopping people from having fun a little bit, but not everybody did, obviously. That's why there's Invader's Curse. I'm actually interested to see if those things come back. I haven't looked into this too deeply, I'll admit. This is just kind of throwing this together, barely able to watch a lot of it, but kept in the loop by a lot of friends. So talking about it, I figured would be fun. Um, so now let's talk about the gods that they have. I mean, hunters that they're gonna bring back. You have on her, you have Kronos, you have Huyi, Danzaburo, Izanami, Jingwei, Neith, and that looks like about it for the hunters. So that's a pretty good group, honestly. I like Huyi as a hunter. I think that his kit is interesting, new, and I mean this is also to say that they haven't told us anything about how they're going to change these kits, because some of these people are going to get partial reworks. How's that going to work out? I do not know. Um, that could kind of go either way, but on her's kit, I think is going to stay pretty similar. And his kit is very unique, interesting, effective, and basic. Anybody can pick up on her. You do not need a high amount of skill to do it. I really appreciate that. Um, the protection shred, I like. Yeah, there's a lot of good on her kit. Sir Nuno's, same thing. I think that his kit is pretty simple and effective in the sense that there's some nuances if you want to get really fancy with it. I mean, you could technically throw out your dash to auto attack cancel, and that's fun. It's cool. I like his passive having the cleave, better route when it comes to jungle clears, things like that. I actually don't know if they'll allow you to leash minions in this. I need to figure that out, but I do like that mechanic a lot, so I really hope that that comes back. Um, I do think that his one might want to be revisited because his one is just, I find, unintuitive in the sense that you start off, you have green, I think it is. Green is lifesteal, then you have the summer, which is added damage. You have autumn, which decays protections, and then winter, which is a slow. This makes sense, except in the capacity that you want to have the protection shred come right before the added damage. Um, Lifesteal has use in the early game, but it doesn't really have a lot of use later on in the game. But the biggest thing is that autumn is after summer, so now you have to cycle through the entire thing, and you're basically just running the wheel. If there's a way I can jump from protection shred directly to added basic attack damage, we're in a very good spot. I really hope they figure out some way of doing that. Um, what else? What else? Down's a Burrow. It's an interesting kit. It's not, truthfully, it's not my favorite hunter. It's not my favorite hunter, but um, I think that that is a valued addition. I think that he has good opportunities. I think his ult is fun to watch when we get to the SPL level. I think that he can be a very interesting character for the game. Again, not my biggest fan, not the biggest fan of him myself, but I do not think he's an unfun character to play against, so I'm pretty okay with that. Hu Yi, Mark, he's just a classic. He's a staple. He's a hype god at times. I don't care who tells me that they've planned this triple bounce 600 times. It kind of just happens through dumb luck, but don't fight him in the jungle, and I think you'll be okay going into it. Izanami, again, fairly basic, fairly nuanced in the sense that different basic attack chain adds a little bit of diversity to the game. I don't think you're really hurting anybody, but again, I think this is kind of a handover to the new players in the sense that new players can just pick it up and go. You're just going to hold down that left click, you're going to hold down that right trigger, you're just going to go, and there you are. You farmed effectively by doing that. You need to find the right items to build. Sure, it's a little bit different sometimes, but you'll be okay. From there, Jingwei, again, very, very beginner friendly. And I think that's what you're going to find with a lot of this, especially the hunters now that I'm looking at it, is they are very, very easy to pick up. You see a lot of nuance in some of the other roles, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Neath, last one. I hope there's some changes to her kit. I love her ultimate. I really do. I think it's a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of stupid things you could do with it. You build her like a mage. It takes half their health, takes all their health. Lord knows. Um, I think that rounds it out pretty well. Double check that I didn't miss anybody. No. All right. So then, after that, let's talk about the Warriors. Let's do Warriors. Warriors are going to be Bologna. You got Chalk. You got Hercules. You got King Arthur. You have Odin. And that is all. You have five. Um, at least what's been confirmed so far. This is for the alpha. That'll be down the line. They're also going to be releasing new gods, and maybe I'll talk about them too. Like new gods that are ported over, they'll be telling us. I think every month or every month. I'm gonna say with for right now. But where we go, Bologna. interesting kit, a lot of variety in the basic attack chains. The fact that she has three weapons, I mean, it was very interesting. Even when she came out season two, I mean, she was overtuned, of course, but we all remember if you were there for it, 1v5ing the entire team. Um, but at the same time, I do find her to be a very valuable god in the game. I think that she is. Well, I honestly haven't played her that much. I'll probably play her a little bit today if I can. But she has definitely adds a layer of interesting nuance to it because again, you have situations where you block stack against where she's block stacking against you. You have situations where she has a cleave, or you have situations where she's just healing. Like there is a variety of things that she can do, and they're all interesting. Plus her ult is just blown ult's good. Blown ult's good. Look at Nika. Nika did well. Nika showed us that character was very, very good. Um, yeah, nothing really new to say there. Herc, or no, Chalk first. Chalk, I do want to see them visit his teleport, if anything. I just think that it really gets kind of stuck when you throw down the one, your three is on cooldown, so you can't cancel the fact that the one's on the ground, so you have to teleport. I would like to see an option where I don't teleport and I spin in place. But again, basic kit, very beginner friendly, um, very accessible. Hercules, same vein. Hercules is going to be very accessible. I'm interested to see what they do because I know he really struggled when the DR changes happened. Because his knockup and his push, they didn't do what they do with Kabrakan, where like Kabrakan's one stun, the slam down on people, does not get affected by diminishing returns. So you can stun them with the two, great, and then you stun them right away with the one, and you still have the full second of the one. They need to do something like that with Hercules push, or they need to figure out something else because you're getting free before Hercules is out of the animation, which is how's that going to work? Um, Assuming they do that well and he comes back as he once was, I'm excited about it. I think he's a fun god. Sometimes getting rock bounced off the wall, blows up a backliner for no reason, and it's a good time. It's a good time. He can make some good plays. I know a lot of the warrior players like him. A lot of the solo laners. King Arthur, a lot of nuance there. God that I am probably still not good with because I do not practice him in the slightest. But he him coming back I think will be cool. I don't know what abilities they're going to have to amplify him in the sense that he spins off the rails a lot. Like you get Bluestone a little bit too strong, King Arthur's a little bit too strong. You get Glad Shield a little too strong, Glad Shield 1700 Glad Shield, a little too strong. Yeah, that's a problem. Um, then you get yeah. I just think he can really, really be made or broken by the items that he used, and maybe they do change that in the way that they itemize the game because I know we're talking about now they're going to be split up into intelligence and strength, and intelligence is going to pertain primarily to ability damage, and strength is going to pertain primarily to basic attack damage. And I think I heard something about them wanting Chalk to be built a little more bruiser esque. I digress. The point is, if they make the god King Arthur in a way that his items are not the make or break of the god. I mean, items are always going to make a god good or bad to some degree. If a spam mage is in, it's because Chronos Pendant's in. Book of Thoth is out. If a burst mage is in, Book of Thoth is probably in. These things do affect it, but I think that there's probably few examples of somebody harder impacted by the items available to you than King Arthur because he doesn't really do a lot of damage naturally. It's again, if he can get Bluestone going or if he can simply never die and inflict damage on you at the same time. Um, Good Glad Shield again is an additional proc of damage. So things like that really do matter for him, and we'll have to see. Last one, Odin. Odin is good for the game for so many reasons. Staple god, very, very iconic. Staple Smite god, very, very iconic in Smite. So new players are always going to know who that is, and they're probably going to gravitate to him. So keeping his kit fairly basic is probably the most ideal thing they can do. I think the ring is really good. I love that design. I think it's really neat and interesting. They might try to change. I don't know how they'll do it with the pip system that they have now, because it's like you basic attack the wall 3 or 4 times and then the wall comes down. And I don't know how they'll handle that in the future with. I'm not seeing a god like Jormungandr here. I'm not seeing a god like Fafnir here. I'm not seeing one of those gods that just blah, 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 and then the wall's dead. And so that's going to make him stronger for the moment. Um, I would be interested to see. I know like Sir Nunos, if he walks up to the wall, it counts as two, so that could be interesting. But otherwise, it seems like he's going to be naturally in a good place just by the shortage of other opportunities like that. Um, yeah, from there, I think that's all the warriors. We can move to assassins, close out physicals. We got who? Fenrir. We have Loki. We have Pele, Susanoo. Am I missing somebody? Surely I'm missing somebody. No, apparently that's all they've acknowledged for right now. So Fenrir, Loki, Susanoo, and Pele. Um, Fenrir had a lot of misgivings when he first came out. Could go either way, but assuming they don't let brutalize crit, I think he's good. I love the god personally. I think he's a lot of fun. I think you can get very good at him. I think his auto attack cancels are good. Um, he has a good amount of CC. He has a good amount of versatility. I would like to see him. I don't know how much they can control it in the engine, but if he does a little bit more damage and he naturally is a little bit more tanky, I'm not going to be mad at that. I do like the place that the character has in the game right now. Um, Loki, again, 1-to-1. I saw they changed his blind. His blind is now going to be more like X ball blind as opposed to just in your face. And I really think that's good. I like that a lot. Um, Otherwise, again, it's a kit that I just think is enjoyable at this point in time. Old Loki was a problem. They changed it. They did very well in that. And he still gets to keep some of the identity, but at the same time, it's not the nonsense it was. And he's more effective in team fights now. So I think those are both pretty decent team fight gods to some capacity, and gods that you can pop off on. Pele, personally, never been my cup of tea, but I'd be interested to see it. I think that she's again a good scrapper. I think that she's very in your face. She gets involved in team fights, attracts a lot of attention to herself, so she can get shut down. She cannot. Depends on what it is. Susanoo, this is I hate Susanoo. I got to be honest. I hate Susanoo. For some reason, defies the laws of nature. I remember they were talking back when he had his dev insight. They were like, hey, he's not going to 100 to 0 you. First thing he did, 100 to 0 you. He's good when he 100 to 0 you. He's bad when he doesn't 100 to 0 you. I know that's most assassins. They told me he wasn't going to do it. That's all I'm saying. But I think that the god has a lot of mobility, a lot of escape potential, and can be pretty frustrating. I would like to see something change. I don't know quite what it is. Longer timers, I think, would feel really bad. And yeah, I don't know. That one I do have a few reservations about. But is what it is. I'm going to move on to the Guardians real quick now. The Guardians, we have Bacchus. We have. Really? Bacchus, Ymir, Yamoja are the only ones that I am seeing confirmed. I don't know what class Hakate is going to be. I didn't pay much attention to that. Yeah, that looks like what it is for the moment. Bacchus, I have a few gripes with Bacchus. Some things that I would like to see happen. Some things that, because I just don't like how much of a damage character he is naturally. He has a very high knockup. Sometimes you can actually Mercury Dash underneath and miss the person. I think they probably want to visit that and probably want to change that a bit. Burp is good. His little mini game with his one is good. His ult is where I find the most problems because it gives him power, and I don't see why. It's usually used as a kill confirm to some capacity too, but I would like to see it be reworked in a way that initiates the fights. The thing that I would say is it is in keeping with the theme if he slams the people that are on the enemy team, they get drunk, they get the wobbles, they are walking around trembling, right? But then the people that are on the ally team, I would like to see get some protections from it. I think that that would be much better than a power buff for Bacchus himself. Um, I think it's in keeping with theme because when your muscles are relaxed, you end up taking less damage, avoiding things that could have been worse. But the cool side of it would be that again, it's a protection buff. It's an initiation option. It's not just a kill confirm, and I really don't like how much of a damage focus he has right now. Where I think something like a supportive ult, where he just slams down on the ground, 8 seconds, everybody gets 60 prots, both sides. 8 seconds, that'd be crazy. 5 seconds, that'd be good. I'd like to see them do something like that with it, but time will tell. Ymir, he's getting a little bit of a change. He's getting a little bit more movement speed. Not movement speed. He's getting a little bit more movement options in the sense of his wall is going to be a knockup, but it's also going to knock him up. He's going to be able to rocket jump a little bit. He's going to get a little bit of movement, and that's what I'm talking about. Is that they're really not looking to keep immobile characters in the game as much. Um, yeah, actually, now that I'm looking at it, they're pretty much everybody in the game has an escape, to my knowledge. Like the only outliers we'll talk about in a moment. Yeah, I think especially supports are really subjected to a lot of abuse if they don't have a good movement ability in some capacity because you're supposed to get in, you're supposed to initiate. He blinks in, right? But what happens next? Things don't go his way. There's no way he gets out. He's committed. He's dead. Um, I'm excited to see what that does for him. I'm excited to see the options that that gives him. Yamoja, God, I am not going to be good with, but still, I I mean that's an SPL god through and through. That is a god that has a high level of complexity. That is a god that has people that do it very well, create these walls. Um, yeah, I'm excited to see that. I don't know that it needs to change all that much. I think it's interesting that they're deciding to do one of those different mechanics so early on in the sense that they're replacing mana with Omi in this case. I think it's interesting to me that they decided to do it that way, but I think it'll be good. Um, Now we have mages, last but not least. Those are my favorites, so we're probably going to spend a good amount of time on them. We have Anubis. We have. I really probably need my glasses, but I don't like the way they reflect. Anubis, Kukulkan, Nuwa, Morrigan, Nox, Soul, and Zeus. Okay, so first off, Anubis, kind of again a staple, very iconic character. People know it, people see it, people love it. Um, as far as how this game goes, it's gonna be made or broken on lifesteal. Like if they are going the route they're doing now, where lifesteal is going to be effectively doubled, and you could potentially heal your team off of lifesteal, he could be very good. I don't know that he necessarily needs an escape. He has the knockup immunities. He has a very, very high amount of damage. And like I said, that's a kind of character that I can get behind. That's a character that I can enjoy quite a bit. I think that's good for the game. Then you have Kukulkan. Kukulkan's pretty staple, basic, generic character. Not going to take a high level of knowledge about the game to play. I think Anubis, on the other hand, if you contrast the two, will take a good amount of knowledge in the sense that you need to be able to build effectively if you want to do well. Again, early players can play Anubis. I'm not saying he's rocket science. I'm not saying you have to reinvent the wheel, but if you want to play him at a high level, you need to know where you are. You need to know what items you're going to build, and you really need to focus on positioning in a way that Kukulkan's not going to do. because especially his ult still locks him in place, to my knowledge. So yeah, I think that's going to add a level of nuance without a level of complexity. Um, Without a level of complexity in the sense that the gods that they've created at some points have had like four passives. Not, I'm being hyperbolic, but you get my point. Whereas this is a simple god, you just have to do it well, which takes practice. Um, yeah, then Kukulkan, very simple god, good objective secure. I think he's good for the game. Uh, Nothing really too crazy to say about it there. Morgan, probably should have been considered part of the assassins when I was talking about her, but she has a very unique kit. She has a lot of options. I think part of the big deal here is that they're implementing Morgan's ult from day one. When Morgan came in, there were a lot of problems with her ult, a lot of bugs, and there have persistently been bugs since her inception. Like, I'm half surprised that Worlds hasn't been shut down because of a Morgan pick. At least to my knowledge. I might be joking. But consistently, I feel like every year she's been picked and then the game crashes or something. Um, so yeah, I think putting her in now is really good. I think that high level Morgan play is one of the best things to see. Again, SPL God through and through. SPL players, not all of them love this god, but you put Dardes on this god, you put a good player on this god, you see some things that you do not think possible. Um, Nuwa, again, very standard god, relatively safe, has her own peel, has movement speed a little bit, has the invisibility, which there's a little bit in the game already in the sense that there's like thresholds to the jungle now that have grass, and that grass has invisibility to it, so you can get ganked pretty neatly. Um, yeah, I think that's a solid god. I think that's excited. I think one of the pain points is coming up next, and that is Nox. Nox, I do not know how I feel about the Nox pick. Um, Knox is somebody that I would really like to see changed a good bit, and I've put this out in a few discords, and I'm not a designer, so take me with a grain of salt. But there's things that I think are really frustrating at times, and her silence is one of them. I think everybody knows that. I think everybody sees that as a problem to some degree, and that's why they can't lower her cooldowns. They can't make her an effective mid player because it's such a strong CC ability. And I think maybe Unreal 4 gives them the ability to do what I proposed at the time and what I'll propose here, which is that you take the silence off of the bubble. You put the silence on the one. When she's linked to you, you're silenced. What I'd like to see from the bubble is a blind and a deafen. I would like to see it when you're in the bubble, you're in like a submersion tank. You do not hear anything. So you don't see what's going on, you don't hear it, and it's completely opaque. Um, in the sense that when you're in the bubble, there's like a soft wall in the way that if you've ever played Valorant, like Astra ult is. I want to see that. If you're a tall god, like if Jormungandr comes back, if Cthulhu comes back, if people that are taller go into the bubble, they shouldn't be blinded or deafened because that's kind of a counterpick thing. But I think that it would create some situations where she just puts the bubble up and you don't want to walk into it because you don't know who's on the other side and they can all see you. I think that would be really cool. Her ult, very cool ability. I think it doesn't get enough credit as a initiation ability in the sense that it does reduce damage. So I would like to see that stay, and her dash, also a good ability, pretty solid. Soul, Soul next up, probably could have fit in ADCs, but I don't again know how the split between intellect and power is going to go and what's going to happen there. With that said, I do think she's a good god. I would like to see her 3 revisited a little bit. I don't like CC immunity, full damage immunity. I think that's a bit absurd. I mean, hers is less on command than other gods, so I'm okay to some degree if that stays. If like X Ball stayed, I'm good with that. It's not just instant, you're gone. Um, so I think that'd be pretty good. I like her pressure that she puts out on the map. I like that she kind of excels in either category. If you go intellect with her, or you go power or go strength with her, and you can do either one effectively. I don't necessarily know that that's still going to be the case because they're going to be scaling off of different things. I don't know if she's going to have some conversion in her passive from one to the other. That could be neat, but we will see. Um, and Zeus, lastly, I'd like to return to ADC Zeus. I mean, you guys have seen it on the channel. I like it a lot. I would like to see more control over his two in the way that Chalk has no control over his axe on the ground. It being stuck there for like 6 seconds is just it's a pain point. It's difficult. I think you probably don't need detonate to work in the way that it does at this point in time. Maybe you aim that ability and that's what makes it good because as of right now, it's really not doing a lot of favors. I mean, yeah, it's not. Um, I don't think it's really valuable. It's like the last thing I end up leveling up. Um, but his kit's relatively basic. A lot of people are going to know who Zeus is. Percy Jackson series is how I got into this game. And I'm probably not the only one. So I think, in summary, God picks are largely solid. There's a few things I want to see changed, but I don't know. Let's move on to items, though. Items, they're getting a bit of an overhaul. You're gonna be like any item that has attack speed, you're gonna be able to start from the same tier one. I don't really know how much I like that because I like committing to a decision. I mean, sure, sometimes it frustrates me when I see a new problem arise and then I have to sell, and that is what it is. But that's part of a strategy game. I think that that's pretty solid. The invisibility again, that little cloaking that happens when you walk through certain parts of the jungle. I think that's going to add a lot of nuance. I think that you're going to need to really think about where you are. Again, gods like Anubis are going to need to really process, do I want to be getting this red camp alone? Um, what's going to happen there? Is it going to go well for me? It could not. Especially if you have gods like Susanoo the way they are now. But yeah, I think that's a pretty large scale summary. There's probably something I'm forgetting because this has been very, very off the cuff. But um, Lord knows I've taken up enough time in the process. And yeah, so thanks for sticking with me. If you have any thoughts, comments, concerns on Smite 2, let me know what you think. Put it down in the comments. I'll be looking through there. I'm pretty excited for this overall. I think that it's a really good opportunity. The SPL changes are largely good. I know a lot of people wanted more freedom than they did have, and yes, sure, it's not guaranteed in the same way, but you're playing a video game and you're playing it competitively. At the end of the day, that's not a very guaranteed situation. Competitive sports, you can be in, you could be out. And I know we're not working with the same amount of money, but you get to play a game, you know? At the end of the day, I'm not going to undersell that because that's just it's really cool. It's something I wish I could do, you know? But we're here. Um yeah, overall, I think it's going to be a very good year for Smite. I think it's going to be exciting. Briefly touch on the skins thing. I put so much money into this game. I'm going to get my money back. I think that's cool. I'm probably going to buy the Founders pack. I bought the Founders pack for the first one in season 2 when there were not even 50 gods. Now there's 120 and I definitely got my $30 worth. I don't know about you. So, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. There'll be better skins in the next one. It'll be okay. Some of them will be missed, and then you know what they're going to do? They're going to bring it back. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get a fan favorite skin. They go, we got this request all the time. We brought it back. Wow. But also, I look at the season 2 skins, and I know that I love them personally, but they're hot garbage. They are. I look at Solid Hornet on Cobb, best joke in the game. Best jokes in the game, absolutely nonsense, but you look at him and he's claymation. He's absolute claymation. And I'm not mad at him for it. Times are changed, but again, um I think this is going to be a good step for them. I think that they've been kind of held back by the client for a while now, and it's nice to be able to move forward from there because they didn't want to actively disparage the game that they already have and the product they already have. They don't want to come out and be like, hey, we can't do that because our software is older than half our player base. um, this gives them a lot of opportunity, and this is gonna be good. So, yeah, hopefully I'll have a little more time to put things out there. It's all gonna be based on reception to some degree, but I hope to be a little bit more active in Smite too, and I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. Like I said, let me know what you think down in the comments, and hope you all have a good day. Stay safe if you're in a snowy spot. Stay safe if you're not in a snowy spot. Um, Hope you enjoy yourselves. God bless.